welcoming you back to episode 23 of my Space Engineers Survival series. I've done quite a bit of work in my off-screen time, so let me go ahead and give you a tour. You will notice that the projector system is currently in the process of projecting more of the bay that I'm going to be using for building the Goliath. I had found that simply putting the grid in the corners was insufficient for me to accurately judge whether or not I had managed to clear away enough of the stone. So I went back and I reshot the grid in creative mode, and so now the most of the bars are 5 blocks apart, which gives me a much better idea of what's been going on. I have also upgraded the Scarab. I put in a second row of drills, as well as adding quite a few more thrusters, primarily because I'm using it for cleaning the ceiling mostly. I'm going to use the deep core miner for doing most of the vertical surfaces, the floor and working down below. But I needed something that I could use to clean the ceiling, and I also put sufficient numbers of thrusters on it so that I could turn it sideways, which you cannot do with many atmospheric craft. And I could go ahead and turn it sideways and not have the thing crash into the ground. I also have a fairly good sized number of thrusters going downward, and that's primarily to keep me from turning all the way over and then subsequently crashing to the ground. One problem with the new projection is the fact that it comes into contact with several portions of my base that I was not in contact with before, and as a result the build and repair system wants to go ahead and start welding things. Let me go ahead and give you an example. If I grind away this corner, you can see that block turns color, and now that block is a legitimate weld for the build and repair system. So what I've had to do is I have had to place a number of blocks, and for instance, you cannot build on this block, you cannot weld on this block from this direction. So I put that there, and now that block and the adjacent block now are no longer eligible to be welded. I've had to do that in a couple of different places just to keep the build and repair system from automatically starting the building the bay area and welding the entire thing to my base. I know that was actually part of my plan. However, I am obviously going to have to move my base further down into the cave, and I didn't want to get everything welded up here until I had moved everything further back, and then I can go ahead and turn everything on. I don't know if I'm actually going to weld up all of the struts in the bay or not. It's going to take a tremendous amount of steel plate to do that, and I don't really know if I want to collect that much iron. However, I have taken the Scarab, and I have managed to clean up the entire ceiling for the entire bay, all the way from the front to the back. Looks like I missed a small amount. No, that's the back corner. Okay. But I have cleaned up the ceiling all the way from the front to the back. As you can see, I have some areas along the edges that I still need to clean up, and that's why I built the Scarab to now fly vertically along the walls. But as you can see, I now have a straight shot from the front to the back, from the side to the side. I also managed to get the deep core miner in to the base, and I wasn't sure. It's a squeaker, but I did manage to get it in, and I used it to cut this first trench here. And it went very quickly. I did the whole thing in a couple of minutes. And then when I got to this point, just to experiment and see how long it would take, I went ahead and went straight down to where the bottom of the bay is likely going to be. And as you can see, that's going to be a lot of stone to move. Now, I had also decided that I was going to build a new fighter, and yes, I wonder how many of my viewers are doing with all of the numerous and sundry designs for the various Zephyr models. That's called the Harpy, and I might actually be able to go and get that one. I have decided to change up my design ideas. Rather than keep making it bigger and heavier, I have decided to go smaller and faster. However, I have also decided that I am going to try the Energy Shield mod, since going after a large, heavily armed and heavily armored transport ship or warship by myself is a bit of a suicide. I've decided to go ahead and follow the rule of cool, which is if it looks good and it's fun, I don't really care whether it's a mod or whether it's part of the vanilla game. So I've gone ahead and I've rigged all this up, and I have everything set and ready to go. I have turned off all of my build and repair systems so that I could get all of that stuff set and ready to go. And now we're going to turn everything back on. And I imagine that the building is going to go pretty quickly here. Let me actually go ahead and get into the Sikorsky and go ahead and turn that on as well. The fighter doesn't actually have that many components, so it shouldn't take that long. I'm looking at bits and pieces here. What's all this stuff falling over here? Interesting. For some strange reason, my deep core miner is spitting out assault rifles. Which is interesting considering the fact that the only thing that is supposed to be whitelisted to go through the sorter, the conveyor sorters, is stone. So that's an interesting situation. Let me go ahead. I was actually planning, since I have better assault rifles now, I was actually planning alrighty. I was actually planning on going ahead and grinding up a lot of these assault rifles anyway. Now, the shield components that I need in order to make the shield require platinum, which, as I discovered an episode or two ago, I have a fairly good amount of, but that doesn't mean I want to waste it, particularly because I'm not going to be able to get any more of it. So let me go ahead and throw all of this junk. Since you respawn with new tools, I'm not going to get rid of the slightly upgraded tools. I'm only going to get rid of the real junky basic ones. And I think I will keep one of the basic assault rifles just in case. And then we're going to go ahead and disassemble all that stuff. Just because I can use the components. There we go. Okay. And now, maybe this thing can stop spitting them out. Okay, we're apparently hung up on something. Let's find out exactly what. Alright, now I'm being an idiot. Build and repair system ship. Steel plates, metal grids, and motors. Really? Okay. Oop. Let me get rid of that. And I hit the wrong thing. And I was only calling up 10. Hope I'm not going to be running out of nickel for this. This thing doesn't have heavy armor plate, although it could be that all of the thrusters... I'd be willing to bet that the thrusters are the things that are consuming all of the metal grid. So we're going to let this go ahead and get welded up, and again, hopefully that'll get welded up relatively quickly. I went ahead and I wonder how many times that's going to spit out that same assault rifle. Yep, just one automatic rifle. Weird. That seems to be the only thing it's spitting out. So that works. And to be perfectly honest, actually, let me go ahead and just turn that off. Now we have some sort of military craft there. We had something that was called a Harpy that was flying around. Oh, that's still there. And it's apparently hovering. Wonder if those two are going to have an altercation. Whatever it was that was happening at the door sill last couple of episodes that was getting me hung up has apparently managed to correct itself. I'm not really sure what was going on there. And obviously we have everything still churning away. I do believe that my refineries are still... I think we're still working on... We still got cobalt, nickel. Apparently we got through the nickel on that one. That might be why we're running out of nickel. Go ahead and get that junk out of there. No, we've got 12K worth of nickel. Okay, we're doing all right. See how we're doing on production. Just merrily chewing away. So, after I get the fighter built and I decide whether I'm going to go after the Harpy or not, since it's just kind of hanging around up there, I'm going to come back. I don't know if I'm going to do this on screen at all because, again, watching me mine is incredibly boring. But I'm going to bring the deep core miner back in and I'm going to go ahead and start cleaning things out. I'm going to attempt to clear away the entire surface so that I can take this level that I'm at now and go ahead and start building on it and start setting up the basic framework of the ship. I need to double check my prototype that I have in creative mode. It could be that I'm too close to the ceiling and I may need to go down a few blocks in order to set things up correctly so that I'm not running into the ceiling. But I want to go ahead and get the basic shape laid out and get the basic outline set up so that my viewers and my followers can actually go ahead. My followers, it makes it sound like I'm a cult leader. That's a little creepy, actually. And that damn gun is on again. Yep, that Gatling turret comes on every time. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I see why. I put a sensor, I'd completely forgotten. I put a sensor on the vehicle, and I went ahead and I set it to turn on the turret when enemies get within 250 meters. Well, let me go ahead and turn the sensor off. So now when I roll out in the rover next time, I'm going to have to remember to turn the sensor on. The idea behind that was that it would activate the guns if there was an enemy within 250 meters of me when I was away from the base. I didn't plan on it activating any time that I was nearby since I'm under the coverage of all of my other guns. That was a mistake on my part. So I don't think that this is going to weld up fast enough for me to go ahead and go and take on the Harpy on screen. I'm checking on my ammunition. Now it's large steel tubes, motors, and steel plates. So let me go ahead and take these out. $1,166 motors. Wow, that is just such a tremendous amount. That's for all of the thrusters. And then, of course, steel plate. And I only need 168 steel plate. So let me go ahead and take that out and then do that. But if I need 1,100 motors, I think I'm going to go ahead at this point and just dial up another 1,000. That'll be 1,100 motors. So now we get to see what's going on there. And to be perfectly honest, since we've got no fighter to fight with, let me go ahead and take this thing in and at least give you an idea. If I don't manage to get the fighter done and go after the Harpy this episode, I promise to shoot the footage and then go ahead and tack it on to the beginning of the next episode. So at least we'll start with something exciting. Now I do have to be careful coming in. As I said, it's a bit of a squeaker. It doesn't help that I have the ramp that's set up in order to recharge the rover, and that's right in the middle of things. I will, of course, have to move all of that stuff around. And wow, that was a little scary. I was under the impression somehow that I was about to get my head cut off. It's just my point of view. So as I said, right shift mining with this thing is incredibly quick. And this is a pretty good test. I can see how high up the ship the stone will actually still be removed, so that'll give me an idea. I don't need to actually have the drills above the level of the stone. It helps. And as I said, I'm obviously going to have to clean up a very large area. You can see how tedious this is and why I normally do this sort of thing off camera. But I wanted to give you an idea. Even though I talk about how long this project is going to take, that's primarily because of the fact that the project itself is on a scale that many players never attempt, which is exactly one of the reasons why I'm attempting it. I like doing things that other people haven't done, at least things that I haven't seen done. I have to make sure that I don't hit my hydrogen tank. That would be more than a little bit disastrous. Fortunately, right-hand mining, you don't actually, this is just for voxel removal. It doesn't actually damage anything, any components or armor blocks or any sort of equipment until you actually bring the drill head, the collision box for the drill head, into contact with something. So I can run this over armor block that happens to have stone stick. Uh-oh. Whoops. So as you can see, I'm dragging the effect box, the area that the drill is affecting, over that armor block, and until the actual drill head, the collision box of the drill head, comes into contact with the armor block, it won't do any damage, which is one of the reasons why I like doing this way. It's a great way to clean things up. And so this is how I'm going to be spending quite a bit of my time over the next few days and weeks. Move forward a little, the stone disappears. Move forward a little, stone disappears. I think I actually get better service sideways, because I'm taking in more material on the drill heads at one time. And I will occasionally back up over an area if it looks like I haven't straightened things out enough. I'm trying to keep my OCD from making this even more arduous task than it already is. I think I'm going to have to install some lights lower down. My lights do not appear to be lighting the area directly in front of me terribly well. And now you can understand why I and other builders will use this system of using a projector to go ahead and lay out something that's going to be something that's going to take a while to build, or something that's large that you want to keep reasonably straight. I'm getting down too deep, and so the drills weren't actually cutting anything. And again, I can't rush it, because if I do, then I wind up crashing into things. Might actually consider the notion of putting a couple of drills on the front of this thing, or extending the drill pattern out a little bit, just for this specific purpose. Either that, or I may do some more remodeling of the scarab and see if I can't use the scarab to do this a little more efficiently, because it occurs to me that while this is working out very well, if I'm going forward, then I'm only using 3 drills. If I'm going sideways, I'm only using 4 drills, because I'm working with the leading edge of the drill pattern and I'm not using all of the drills that I have access to. Whereas with the scarab, I think it's 12 drills on the front, and I typically use all of them. Well, there we go again. So we will have to see. And again, if it turns out that this is better for doing this sort of work or simply for resource gathering, then that's what I'll use it for. And I'll use the scarab for opening up the bay. I have no problem with that. Oop, wrong way. Because for going down, it works just fine. And I think I'm going to leave this hovering here and come back to this in my off-screen time. Let's come back over here and see how the dagger is doing. Even if I don't have time to actually go out and capture the ship, at least I can show you the design. Oh, it looks like it's coming along very well. Oh, there I'm getting hung up on the door again. I have 2 Gatling cannons mounted forward, and then I have 2 missile launchers mounted underneath the wings. The design is primarily black because black is cool, and there are certain components, primarily the weapons and the connector in the back, that are painted red, mainly because no dagger is truly a dagger until it gets some red on it. At least that's what my old D&D character used to say. So let's see what we've got going on here. Yep, now we're basically waiting on motors. And now we're just making motors. Although, according to this thing, we also still need 100 steel plates. So why don't we go ahead and run up a couple of 100 steel plates. I'm going to go ahead and throw those in. And all of the welders go nuts because apparently there were a lot of components that were just waiting for steel plate. I could see a lot of the thrusters and so forth that looked like they were just waiting for something, and I thought that they were waiting for motors. Apparently they were waiting for steel plate. So now we have a lot of things that are going to get done. And again, this is primarily light armor, so the light armor should weld up fairly quickly because it's only 1 steel plate per block. But we're going to leave that there for now. As I said, next time I'm going to go ahead, and it looks like the Harpy is still hovering there at 3.6 kilometers away. I have no idea. I have never encountered anything that had that designation before, so I have no idea how large it is or anything like that. I will certainly go out and take a look at it. And if it looks like it's something that I can handle, then I will certainly try to handle it. And if it's too big for me, then I will probably try to handle it anyway, simply because I've tested the fighter in creative mode in order to check and make sure that I had enough power and enough thrust and so on and so forth. I haven't actually tested it to see how durable the shield is, and I've never worked with the shield mod before. A lot of players use it. I see a lot of YouTube creators that also use it, and it seems to be very popular with the player base and YouTubers, and so I thought I would give it a try rather than simply building and rebuilding and rebuilding fighter after fighter after fighter, and then going after ships that have not only larger guns and more damaging guns, but also longer range guns and many more of them. So we shall see what we shall see. Thank you all for following along. I appreciate your comments and your criticisms. I'm trying to make the channel better for all of you. As always, likes are appreciated and subscriptions doubly so. This is Darkeyzer signing off. Thank you for watching.